Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. It's episode 438. I almost said 300 listeners and viewers. I kind of downplaying myself. No, it's 438 listeners and viewers. And this is going to be a special, just me and my great co-host, Adrian. And Adrian has been off on a kind of business conference, and he's all pumped up, and he's going to be telling us a bit more about his experiences. But before that, listeners and viewers, I've got to talk about one of our great sponsors, and that's Ginster Hosting. And what is Ginster Hosting? Well, they only host WordPress websites. They're really best for WooCommerce, for learning management systems, for membership sites, or very large websites. They're a fantastic team of WordPress junkies and experts. When you send in a ticket with them, you're not getting somebody that's not given a lot of training. You're getting a premier support professional that has the ability to answer your questions straight away. Can you imagine it, listeners and viewers? No 3 calls in a row, no 3 hours on the phone. You just get your problems answered. And also you use Google, I can't talk this morning, listeners and viewers, but they use Google web hosting, so you get the best, get a superb UX design. I was in my Kinster account yesterday, and it's just fantastic to use. There's no guesswork where stuff is. It's just all simple, and they're obviously spent an enormous amount of time. So if that sounds really interesting, go over to kinster.com, try them out, buy a package, and also tell them that you heard about them on the WP-Tonic show. Now, into the show. So, Adrian, you went off to Cabo, Chris Lemmer's little joint in Mexico. How was it?
I had a great time. It's probably the best big fat check or the most worthwhile big fat check that I've ever written to somebody to go anywhere and learn something. I was there for 5 days, Monday to Friday last week, which is why I wasn't on any of the shows last week. But it was definitely worth missing out. Sorry, but because I'm
offended. I'm so offended. I'm never going to talk to you again, Adrian.
I've brought back some, I think, a few tidbits of value for
actually.
For the listeners
can I tell you something? I asked Chris.
I
was speaking to Chris Badger a couple of days ago, and I said, does Adrian look younger in the flesh than he does on Zoom? And he said, oh yeah, he's much younger. Look.
The camera makes me look a little bit adds a few years, but yeah, no, I met up with like Chris and kind of like the who's who of some of the WordPress community was there. I met some heavyweights like Devin Walker from Give WP. If you're not familiar with that, it's like kind of like the de facto donations plugin that exists at the moment. The people from Jetpack were there. James Laws from Ninja Forms, and actually a relationship came out of that, which I'm super excited about. Michael Short from the WASP Pro community, and well, Chris Lemma, the organizer of the whole event. If you're not familiar with him, he's currently product manager at Liquid Web, but he's been kind of like in the WordPress community for a very long time, doing a whole lot of cool stuff. So I met a bunch of people way more experienced in doing this a lot longer than I have, and I went there with the expectation of kind of just meeting some people and building some relationships that I might be able to like mooch off their list and help grow my business. But I actually came back with a significantly more valuable asset, and that is some very some very important knowledge that I'm actually going to share with the listeners today. So I'm super excited about that. The first thing that I want to share is going to be talking about value and pricing equivalency to value. Specifically, free is the word. Everybody loves free stuff, and I'm going to talk about when and where you should be using free, how much you should be giving away for free, and where free is actually devaluing your business, which is an important, probably the most important lesson that I learned while I was there as someone who has a very significant free product. And then after that, around after the break, I want to talk about the role of competition in the marketplace, something that I also have a significant amount of. And I'm sure if you're a course creator, you're a Facebook ads expert, you're an agency, you also have a significant amount of competition. Everybody's kind of like squabbling over the same amount of like finite customers and all of that stuff, and how you can actually use competition to your benefit, and some frame of mind changes that you can take on in order to lessen the anxiety that you have about competition. So that, and then after, if they're stick around for bonus content, I'm going to share with you a direct talk that we got from Chris Lemma about how to craft an engaging story, and that will be available in bonus content, and maybe some other tidbits as well. So I want to start off with the talk about value and free and pricing and
yeah, which is a bit of a nightmare, isn't
which
it?
is a bit of a nightmare. I have to agree. I have gone through, in my experience with the WordPress community, through Groundhog, through FormLift, and through being in an agency, I have gone through more pricing changes than I would care to count on 10 hands. It's just, it's a constant work in progress, and there's no kind of like one size fits all perfect solution for every business out there. And you kind of just got to like test and pluck away at it until you find what works. But I did come back with some guidelines. Now, if you offer a free product, for example, being in Groundhog, we offer a free plugin, which I think provides a significant amount of value. We offer that free plugin, and it's free. And then we ask people to buy extensions and add-ons, and that's a fairly typical pricing model throughout the WordPress community. If you're a course creator, you might have like a free sample course that someone signs on for, and then you can upgrade them to later courses. If you're an agency, you probably have like a free white paper or an SEO audit or anything like that, and those act as very, very, very good lead generators. But when you're talking about how much should be free, that's when that was kind of like the eye-opening moment for me. I was talking on my day one. I was there. We had dinner the first day. Everybody meets up for the first time around 5:45 p.m. and then you break off into like power groups, and then you go eat dinner with 4 or 5 people, and you get to know each other. You go around the circle, you do the kumbaya, and basically share why you're here, what you want, what you're scared of, etc., etc. And when it came my time to share, I'm like, well, I run Groundhog. It
sounds like WordPress therapy.
You know what? It does. It actually, when you put it that way, it is a lot like WordPress therapy. You basically just get to unload, and you get a bunch of people say what their experiences have been, and essentially help you and allow you to come to some like eureka moments. So my eureka moment almost happened on like day one. Hadn't even like eaten dinner yet, but I was talking to Tessa Kreisel. You can find her on Twitter. Very, very, very smart person. She just left Pantheon and she's moving somewhere else. I don't remember though. And I was talking about Groundhog basically allows, is it functionally equivalent, if not superior to Infusionsoft, Doctor HubSpot, but like within WordPress. And that functional equivalency comes at the price of free, which I think is pretty cool, right? You can get all that stuff for free. And then Tessa kind of like looks at me from she's sitting next to me. She looks to her left and she's like, "Are you crazy?" And I'm like, why would I be crazy? And she says, "You're giving away way too much." And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And it's like, you're saying that people, you're giving away software that's equivalent to something that costs upwards of $99 a month, which, comes out to like $1,200 a year or more. And you're just giving that to people for free. And I'm like, yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? And she's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. You're leaving so much money and you're leaving so much value on the table. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So can
I interrupt? Actually?
Yes, you can.
But I don't know if you want to discuss this here and now on a live program. But I've always felt that I agree with her slightly. I agree with her, but I think you're offering the wrong bits for free.
We're gonna get there. Don't you worry. It's all part of the story.
Right. There you go.
Okay. We're building it up. So I'm trying to like equivalent this to. I'm trying to frame this in a mind that will be accessible to everybody. So what I was about to say is, if you have currently like a free course or a free product, or if you're like a plugin developer like me and you have a free version, right? It's hard to know when to stop providing value for free. it's hard to decide, well, how, I want them to be able to get value out of it, but I also don't want to give too much value that they end up having to eventually pay for something, but I don't want to seem like like a bad business owner, and basically it's like trialware, and I don't want them to like be forced, right? So that fine line of where to decide how much is too much. And I didn't really make a good, I learned that I didn't really make the best decision about how much.
It's a similar situation to the course developer. I always have a lot of people when they're on their first pony ride, when they're building a course, they think by offering, I call it the War and Peace course.
Mm-hmm.
They think by building a course that's like 24 or 50 lessons.
Yeah.
And they throw in the kitchen sink, and they throw this in, they throw that in. That will help diminish the possibility of failure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
It does not. It actually, the only thing, so here's what I learned. So and I was kind of like putting this analogy together before I came on. So let's say you have a Honda Civic and a Ferrari. The Honda Civic, like what, $20,000 MSRP, the base model. You got a Ferrari, it's like $200,000 MSRP for the base model, right? They both do the same thing. They both get you from point A to point B on 4 wheels with an engine in it. But which one's more valuable? And which one do people want? The one that costs significantly more is the one that's more valuable and the one that people want. Nobody wants, well, you might want, but nobody really, like the bottom of their heart, wants to go out and buy a Honda Civic. What do they want? I mean,
well, you do know I own a Honda Civic, don't you?
Do you want the Honda Civic or do you want a Ferrari, right? Like, so putting this analogy together, how do we translate that into our products?
I love my Honda.
It's a good car. There's no question about it. But put it in front of you. Which one do you want? Do you want the Ferrari? Yeah,
actually, I would want the Honda, because I have had some friends in the UK that had a Ferrari, and it was a freaking nightmare.
Well, you know what? We're just going to make you an exception to the rule. We'll replace we'll replace the Ferrari with a Rolls Royce. Okay? Does that make you happy?
No, I don't like Rolls Royces. You
get where I'm coming from, though, right?
Yeah, of course I do.
You get where I'm coming from. The thing that costs more is inherently, to our psychological, economic, purchasing brain, more valuable. So,
well, it just depends. It's such a nightmare now, because it really depends on branding and placement, doesn't it? It really depends if in your mind you think it meets all your requirements, or it meets all your kind of inbuilt aspirations.
Here's where I'm going, though. Here's where I'm going. So if you have a free course or a free product like I do, and you're giving away a whole ton of value for free, or for at least a very, very, very low price point, right? Let's say you have a whole bunch of value packed into your Honda Civic, okay? And people are, some people buy it, some people use it, whatnot, right? But it doesn't exactly have that I want that factor, right? If someone, let's put a more reasonable expectation in mind. Let's say you have plug-in A, you have plug-in B. Plug-in A is free, plug-in B is $99 a year, let's say. Very super reasonable buying like position. They both functionally do like the same thing, but which one would you use? Would you use the free one, or would you use the $99 a year one? Which one would you choose at the end of the day? Some people will choose the free version, obviously, because $99 may be cost prohibitive, right? And they might think, I don't really need it for that much, so I'll just use the free version. If it gets me by, it gets me by. But the vast majority of people, at least everybody that I talked to while I was there, and everybody that I'm talking to now, saying, all right, well, if I actually decide to charge $99 a year, would more people buy it? And the answer to that question is absolutely. Because in our brains, $99 is just worth more. You think you're going to get more value for $99 than you will get for free. When we think of free, we go to the mall, we get free samples, right? We get things that are of low value. So if you're giving away a ton of value for free, even if in your mind you know that this will change your life and your business and will do all of these amazing things for your company, it gets associated with providing low value, because that's just what free is. free is low value. Even if it is the most valuable thing, that's just how we associate it. So if you're currently providing a huge ton of value for either like a very, very low price point or for free like I am, then you have to kind of like take a step back and you have to look at it objectively. Like, all right, how much value is this actually worth? Like if I were to put a price on this and not free, how much is it actually worth? And if it's worth more than like $1,000, you got to kind of scale back. So what we're doing at Groundhog right now is we're reassessing how much value we're going to give to free, right? We still want people to be able to successful and people to get started. Almost like we're gonna create a light version of the current product that we're giving away for free. We're gonna create a light version. We're gonna pull some value out of it, and we're gonna attach costs to that. Because if we attach a cost to kind of like the super special bits, then people will start to see, oh wow, this program or this product or whatever it is can actually help my business because it's valuable. It is valuable.
So are you really then talking about what our friend Chris Badger and over at Lifter LMS has done, where the actual core, because he doesn't exactly provide a light version, does he? He provides a lot of functionality in the core product, but it has a lot of additional some of it is critical, like being able to take payments, because which is not so he uses the add-on model, doesn't he?
He does, and we're actually going to be adopting a similar model. Well, we use the same model essentially, but we're going to be adopting a lot of. I talked to Chris while I was there, and Lifter LMS, he uses free as a distribution model, not a pricing model. Yeah. So if you have a free product right now, you should consider free not as part of your pricing, but as a part of your distribution, which is a very, very different thing than equating it to pricing. So you use free to basically get as much of your product to many people as possible, right? But you don't necessarily need to like give away the whole house with it. You just use it to put it in people's hands, and then you upsell those people to a paid product. But you make sure that, if they have that free product, they shouldn't be able to like they shouldn't be able to just build the house or get the whole house or whatever analogy you want to use. They shouldn't be able to do everything with that free product. And that's what we were doing. We were giving away the house and then asking to pay the mow the lawn. As an analogy I used a lot in Cabo.
Well, it's tricky. It's tricky. This is tricky. I won't be too hard on yourself, because this is very tricky.
It's always a work in progress, and you're always learning. But if I were to like sum everything that we've just been talking about for the past 20 minutes, I'd put it in: free is not equal to value. These two things are not the same. If you provide a lot of value, but you're equating it to the free price point, it is not valuable no matter how valuable it actually is. People will just not perceive it as valuable. You have to tack on a price to it, and you have to scale back the amount of value. Use free as a distribution method, not as a pricing model. And you will start to see at least people start to value your product higher. You will start to see better retention rates. You'll start to just see a whole bunch of things improve in your business. And that's kind of like the road we're going to go down. And that's all I have to say on the free matter. And
we're going to go for our break. Adrian's very animated. So I've never seen him so pumped up, actually. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. Before we go into part 2, I want to talk about one of my other great sponsors. And funny enough, that's Lifter LMS. Basically, what is Lifter LMS? Well, if you're looking to build a course, looking to build a membership site, and you're looking for one of the best products to do that, to help you build that, or you're with a SaaS platform like Learnable or Kajabi, and you want more flexibility, more control, more power, this is the tool for you, Lifter LMS. It's got amazing functionality, customization, and the team at Lifter LMS have just recently added free add-ons that will give you even more customization and power to build the membership site or the learning management system that you're looking for. That was in that initial dream when you first built your first course. If that sounds interesting, go over to Lifter LMS. You can download a fully functioning their system for free. and try it out. And also tell them that you heard about them on the WP-Tonic podcast. Back over to you, Adrian.
I just want to share one last tidbit about the free thing. Now that you mentioned Lifter, a neat thing that I learned from Chris while I was there was that nowhere on lifterlms.com and now nowhere on groundhog.io or nowhere on any of like the major plugin sites will you actually find a mention of free download. So if you go to any premium or freemium product rather, so like Groundhog or Lifter or Astra or Elementor or any of those plugins, everything is directed towards the pricing page. And it's actually quite difficult on those websites in order to find where's the free thing. So if you are currently like sending a lot of your people or a lot of your traffic to the free thing on your site, I would ask the question, is that actually working out for you? If you were to send that same amount of traffic that you're currently directing to a free thing, if you were to take that same amount of traffic and direct it to something that's paid, what change would that mean for your bottom line? They can find the free thing in other ways. There's blog posts and there's the WordPress repository and, there's a bunch of other places, distribution methods like Facebook and Twitter that people can use to find your free products. But on your website, if you were to take that traffic and direct it to a paid item, I just want to put that seed out there. And that's actually a change that we made recently. And already we're seeing some like big changes in results for the bottom line as far as that's concerned. So just a last tidbit, because nowhere on Lifter LMS is there a free way to get that. They're actually a free plugin. Just a last thought. Now I'd like to talk about the role of competition in the marketplace. This was a conversation put on by Jilt. Jilt was there. Jilt is actually my competition, kind of. They are a WooCommerce and easy to downloads and Shopify focused marketing automation platform. They do email, cart abandonment, broadcast, all the same stuff. And they were talking about, what's the first thing, if I were to tell you, wow, Jonathan, there's a brand new agency down the block from you. And what they're doing is they're putting together customers and they're putting together a platform in order to be able to provide people with bespoke membership and LMS sites. How would that make you feel?
It wouldn't make me feel fantastic, but I wouldn't worry about it too much because this is a very similar conversation to our conversation in the first half. It's balance. If anybody says to you that they're not interested in their competition, they're lying to you. But on the other hand, if you're totally fixated about the competition and what they're doing, you're wasting a lot of psychic energy. It's about keeping balance.
Well, you must be very enlightened, but for a lot of the people, at least that were there, they're like, well, it causes anxiety. You're worried that you're going to lose your market share. It's a constant, like, you're worried that there's not going to be enough for everybody. They're going to put my business under whenever like a new competitor.
Yes, but Adrian, what is the point? Obviously, if they're doing things that are a lot better than what you're doing, you should be open to being able to see that. But on the other hand, what is the fundamental point of worrying yourself to death over things that you have absolutely no control over?
Well, here's the thing. That's kind of what we're going to talk about. You don't really have any control over your competition. The best thing that you can do is, if competition arises, or if you have a significant amount of competition already, is just go buy their stuff and observe what they're doing, but don't copy them. So a lot of what we talked about in our competition discussion at CaboPress was, why do we feel the way that we feel? It's because we're worried about market share. We're worried about losing customers. We're worried about people are going to leave. But here's the thing about competition. So business right now is, at least for us, business is booming. There are a never-ending stream of people starting new business, people getting into ads, people needing LMS sites, people wanting to share the information, the knowledge that they've acquired over the years, and then resell that to people. There is no stop of those people. As long as people are giving birth, there will be business to be had by everybody. So if you put that in perspective and you start thinking, wow, I'm putting in my mind and I'm saying, yes, there's a lot of competition, but that doesn't necessarily
Well,
mean
can
that
I
they're
can
going
I
to put
just
me out of business.
yeah, can I just add one observation to this, see if you agree with it. I had a possible client, because I'm very open, you know, on the website you can book a consultation with me for totally free. So I have a lot of people approaching me,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the time it doesn't lead to anything. But I had one lady, she approached me yesterday, and so we had a quick session on Zoom, and she's got Lifter LMS and she's built a really nice website. But she was looking, she spent a lot of time trying to find a scheduling plugin. I won't go in, but she was looking for scheduling functionality.
Mm-hmm.
And also she'd been advised by Chris and the team there was other factors. So she was looking for something that could really integrate with WooCommerce.
Yeah.
And she'd gone down one plugin, and basically it doesn't integrate with WooCommerce. So she's asking me, and I'm a bit careful about what I recommend, because I normally try and recommend that something I've used, but I haven't done a really major scheduling integration. And the last one I did was a couple of years ago. And so I said, I'll get back to you. And there was a couple ones I wanted to check to see if they work with WooCommerce that well. So I did a little bit of about a half hour, 40 minutes, because I'm seasoned, so I know what to look for and that. And I was just gobsmacked by the amount of competition in the past 2 years, the amount of competition there is in scheduling plugins.
Yeah. There's a huge amount. We have our own.
But I take this as a metaphor in general, because I think the WordPress ecosystem, the plugin ecosystem, has become globalized. It was very dominated by American developers in the first 5 to 6 years, 7 years, because I got in at WordPress in version 3, but especially the last 2 to 3 years, it seems to have got even more globalized, with a lot of players in Israel and also a lot of very powerful professional teams based in Eastern Europe, in the old Eastern Europe, now as part of the European community. I would say when it comes to scheduling plugins, there must be literally 15 to 20 that you can find quite quickly by doing Google searches. It just but I feel this is the same in a lot of sectors, is that just the amount of competition is definitely increased, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, if you were to go on to Google and type in Facebook ads course, there's not 20 of them. There's 2,000 of them, right? So, but here's the thing about having a lot of competition. If you have a lot of competition, or you're looking to enter somewhere that has a lot of competition, don't think of that as a hindrance, right? Don't think it's like, wow, they're taking up all the market share, because the only thing that competition truly does is validate that people need it. All it does is validate the market. It shows you that there is an opportunity for you to do something differently in the same area that people are already in. For example, email marketing, the one that I'm in, is an $18 billion industry dominated by MailChimp, HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, GetResponse. I am a 2-person team plugin developer for WordPress, operating out of a digital marketing agency's office in Toronto, Canada. No big frilly office, no big thing. However, we're carving out our space of the market based on one simple thing. We just do what they do differently. We do it on WordPress. It's not SaaS. It's not whatever. It's simple. It looks like WordPress. It integrates easily with WordPress. So while we technically do the same thing that all of the rest of our competition are, we're just doing it differently. And at the end of the day, if you can just do the same thing that everybody else is doing differently, different is better than better. You don't necessarily need to be better than your competition. You just need to operate in a manner that sets you apart, because people will always be unhappy, even with the most awesome and expensive and feature-rich of products. People will always find something wrong with it, and at that point, they will move to something else that they're going to try and find and like. And you can be that person, because no one is ever truly satisfied with the solution that they're on. That means there is always room to enter the market and provide the same solution differently, so that a certain subset of people. It might not be the majority of the market, it might even just be a tiny minority of the market, but there is always that tiny minority that needs to be served, that isn't currently being served, that you can get into that super competitive space and fill the desire. That's kind of like the biggest thing that I learned about competition. It's like, yes, I have $18 billion worth of competition, but we do it differently, and different is better than better. We will serve the people who need marketing automation and use it for WordPress. And for like the 20 different scheduling plugins, there's like Acuity, and there's Schedule Once, and there's so many.
There's just a freaking army of them.
However, they all do it differently. So you got to find the one that does it in the way that you like. And then for the ones that don't like it that way, they're going to go get a different one. And that's totally fine. There's enough for everybody.
Yep. We're going to wrap it up now. The 30 or 35 minutes have gone quick. But we're going to continue the discussion with some bonus content as well, which you'll be able to see the whole interview plus the bonus on the WP-Tonic YouTube channel. And I normally publish our interviews and roundtable shows on the WP YouTube channel the quickest. So if you can't get enough of us and the panel, go to our channel and subscribe, and you'll be updated automatically when I publish on that platform. So Adrian, how do people find out more about you and Groundhog?
Well, I recently actually shared a whole lot more about CaboPress on my office hours on our Facebook group. You can go to Facebook and then search for the group Groundhog WP, and you can actually watch the replay of that office hours. If you're interested in more about what we've been sharing on this podcast, and you want to find more about that, if you're interested in marketing automation for WordPress specifically, then you can go to groundhog.io. Again, that's with 2 G's, and you can see what options we have to serve you and your marketing automation needs.
That's great. We'll see you next week, where we're going to have a great guest. I actually am excited about the final third of the year. I've managed to rustle up an amazing group of experts for the last part of the year, folks. I'm sure you're going to be amazed at the quality of interviews. I'm really pumped. It's going to be a strong ending to the year. We'll be back next week with a great expert to give you insight in how to build your course, your WordPress site. We're just WordPress junkies and learning management junkies. We'll be back next week, folks. Bye. Yeah, I just... It's just so difficult to get. It's around placement. It's around finding the right niche, especially in a competitive market. You got to find the right niche. But then it's I think one of the great things about the sector that you're involved in is that there is a core fundamental problem that nobody in that sector has managed in a very satisfactory way to solve. And what I mean by this, and don't get me wrong, this is not an easy thing, and it's not an easy problem that will ever be solved, because it's dealing with two fundamental, it's dealing with ease of use, with functionality. And what I mean by that is that everybody wants a really easy to use CRM, but on the other hand, they're always looking, a lot of people are looking for that extra bit of functionality. So as something gets more complicated, it gets more difficult to use. It's kind of like the laws of thermodynamics, isn't it? The more functionality you put into something, normally its ability to be used decreases.
That's
right?
a significant problem faced by the industry. Is everybody wants have these super niche edge cases to connect platform A to platform B and then send email C at time D, and it can get really complicated if you actually go ahead and implement a lot of that stuff. So there's a certain expectations management that you have the dance have to dance.
But on the other hand,
everybody happy.
When you know it and I know this, I think there's still a lot of ground to be covered about really good UX design and really making these systems a lot more easier to use. I still think that there's still a lot of ability to make things a lot easier for the end user. What do you feel about that?
Absolutely. I find that the easiest way to do that, and at least what we've done, is we don't make, so a lot of the current solutions require you to already have some sort of like preconceived notion of what makes a good email or what makes a good funnel or what steps someone needs to take in order to buy your product. We don't give our users that much credit. What we decided to do in order to kind of make the whole process a little bit easier is templatization. Templatization makes the whole process just so much easier. You just install a template. You can modify it if you want to, but you don't need to. You basically just fill in the information for your emails, and you fill in, I want this email to go after 3 days, right? But it's allowing people to kind of just like get the basics down and then build up, over time, anything over time. You learn skills over time. You do it something enough times and you'll be able to do it in your sleep without thinking about it, without looking at it. So the more times they install these templates and they see the way the templates run, eventually they'll be able to design their own stuff that actually works and doesn't end up just totally like, it broke my site or it didn't work or whatever, any of that stuff. So by adopting templatization, we can just make things, so much easier. That's why, for example, for Facebook ads are probably the most complicated ad platform that currently exists. It is incredibly difficult, but they introduced templatization. And there's a whole bunch of courses and everything that's already too, but you go through like their guided setup and it's like step 1, the name of your ad, step 2, the image of your ad, step 3, the content of your ad, right? So with a little bit of knowledge and taking a course or whatever, you can go through that templatized process in order to develop an ad. And that's what I think makes good UX, is walking people through the process who aren't new to the process. A lot of platforms, e-commerce, kind of just like throw people into the thick of it with no prior knowledge of what actually the steps are they need to do. It's kind of just like expected. Well, if you're using our software, you should know what to do. And if you don't, it's kind of like tough. So, but a lot of people are DIYers. They're kind of getting into the market. It's their first time. They've never experienced this before, and they're looking for guidance. And providing templatization at least provides a form of guidance that may or may not, depending on how well you do it, be able to walk them through it. At least that's my thinking on good UX and kind of adopting or bringing on newbies and people.
Yeah. And like when you said in the first, this is the whole thing about the WordPress ecosystem, is you are benefiting because fundamentally it is a kind of pre-made marketplace already there for you, so you're not having to build from the ground up. So you got that enormous benefit, right? But the thing with the WordPress ecosystem is you're dealing with this really very tricky animal of free with paid metrics, which is some ways slightly unusual. Obviously there are other open source platforms, Drupal, Joomla, and other, there's other marketplaces like Theme Forest and that, but it's a bit simpler because everything on there is you pay for, where here you're dealing with a more complicated metrics, aren't you?
Yeah. So if we go back to like the old WordPress, themes were essentially the way to templatize WordPress. Themes are kind of like going like the way of the curb, but back in the day, you basically just load up a theme that looked kind of like similar to what you wanted. You plug in your images, you plug in your site title, and boom, you had a website. Now it's a little bit more complicated. That we got page builders and we have the customizer, and now we have Gutenberg, and everything's going to be blocks. And that templatization process is slowly like getting further and further away. To be fair, Elementor, Brizy, Beaver Builder, they're all kind of like bringing templatization back into the form of you can basically install like a page template, and then you don't have to be responsible for designing
that's always
your own
made
stuff.
That makes, you're so spot on there, because these people that I can tell you, page builders are really aimed at really good implementers or kind of graphic design types.
Yeah.
Your average
Joe is like
Joe business owner does not want to go in and become a graphic designer, or they have absolutely no ability.
They're busy.
Area.
They're building a business. They're
Yeah.
answering calls and they're making sales and they're on location and they're doing stuff. They don't have time to like learn how to use Breezy or Elementor or Beaver Builder or WordPress for that.
Because they're all compared to hand coding. Yes, they're much more simple, but they're not simple products.
No.
You know, obviously a client wants to go in and be able to effectively move an image around or change some text. And the fundamental WordPress editor was an embarrassment because you couldn't do some fundamental things that any kind of business or anybody that owns a website should be able to do. It was an embarrassment, wasn't it? But these tools like Elementor, enormously powerful, Breezy, enormously, you know, one of our sponsors. Thank you very much, but a fantastic tool. Beaver Builder. These are not easy things. Your average business owner, he might want to move an image, but he doesn't want to learn how to build a whole website. You do get other people, other business owners that, but they normally, it's around control. The feeling of control. They do spend ages learning how to do all this and they want to do it all themselves, but they in my experience are more the outliers than the norm, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're gonna go on. Sorry.
When WordPress gets to WordPress is kind of like the choice of the internet literate. I actually gave a conversation. I did a talk at WordCamp TO a year ago about this and how we designed WordPress for, you know, the majority of the web versus the minority. Like WordPress is the choice of the internet literate, people who understand blocks and page builders and designers and developers, right? While Squarespace and, you know, Wix and Weebly and all of those are kind of the choice of everybody else, right? Because it's all templatized and drag and drop images, right? WordPress is trying to move with Gutenberg to a place where it can just be like drag and drop images and move stuff around and it's all easy and breezy. And I'm excited for when it gets there, but it's not currently there. But yeah, again, you know, WordPress, the reason why WordPress is so awesome and is kind of like the dominant force of the internet is it does the same thing, just differently. And different is better than better.
Yeah, that's right. We'll be back next week, folks, with another similar great conversation. We've got a great guest next week, and we'll be back soon. See you later, folks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.